Welcome to the professor's discussion for Chapter 3, which is titled Getting Started. Here we're continuing our discussion about entrepreneurship and opportunities and ideas. We're going to briefly discuss this process around idea and opportunity generation, since this is really a catalyst for the remainder of our process. So in this discussion, I want to make sure that we understand two things. One is that startup ideas are generated and shaped through a process. They don't always just happen. And the second thing is, before we can write a business plan, we must screen or test these ideas to eliminate the possibility of a fatal flaw. There are three general ways to entrepreneurship that you can see here, and right now we are focused on the one on the left, which is starting something that did not previously exist. When we create a new business from scratch, we have many good reasons. There are several or four that you see here. Rather than pursuing the other alternatives, we're going to create a new business from scratch so that we can develop a new market for our product or service, mainly because we want to experience the failure or success of doing this on our own as opposed to adopting another model. We know that, or we think that we can do this better than the companies that exist in the competition space today, or we feel that there are some unique resources that people have not identified yet. But it all starts with an idea, and that idea is a promising concept that we hope that we'll realize our ambitions from. So by recognizing where ideas come from and how we can continue to shape them, we can focus on transforming these ideas into opportunities, and that's what maximizes our chances for a successful venture. On page 63 in your textbook, you can see a graphic of three different categories or types of ideas. The first is considered to be a new market. A new market idea is one where we provide a product or service that doesn't yet exist in the market, but it does somewhere else. It's a very proven approach. We're taking an existing idea and we're applying it in a new context, and that approach has been very successful. The second is new technology. This is new knowledge. This is high risk because it's not proven and there hasn't been any prior success with it, but it also holds tremendous potential. The technology needs to be unique and better than what's out there today, and there need to be enough potential customers in order to support the sales. Lastly, the founders or the owners need to have the necessary skills to launch this team. The third is new benefit. Likely, it's probably most of the startups that are in this class. These are ideas that develop into startups because they offer benefits from an improved version of the product or service, really a better way. There are many different common sources of startup ideas, and you can see that the most popular is because of prior work experience. This is very common in the restaurant industry. People typically work in the restaurant field for many years, and their prior work experience tells them that they can do it better than the people that they work for. Another really strong common source of a startup idea is interest. We tap into a passion that we have about something and we build a business concept around it. The third is really by accident, and that happens quite a bit as well. It's just sort of a serendipitous event. So let's take this one step further. Do you actually generate a good idea? If it doesn't happen by your prior work experience or because you have a passion or by accident, what are the ways that you can deliberately think about coming up with a good idea for a startup? Well, you can dig deeper and you can proactively be creative about generating your idea. The textbook lists 10 ways, and I'm going to highlight what I consider to be the four most important or prominent ones. The first is to borrow. We can take technology from one type of application, we can borrow it, and we can come up with an idea for that technology in a different type of application. The second is to solve a problem. You can see here that we could develop some sort of film to go over the iPad so that it reduces the glare. That would solve the problem of not being able to read your iPad outside. This is a huge source of startup ideas. Creating something that people must have in order to solve their problem something that is very real and painful to them, and you are going to develop a very high sense of loyalty from these people. From a personal perspective, make it your obsession to solve somebody else's problem. Become passionate about problem solving, and it's usually something that you'll think about more often than not. Another is to ride the wave of a trend, and specifically we can ride the wave of trends that run together. And I have a picture here, and this picture is meant to represent craft beer. Craft beer is an example of a very high growth industry that really rides the waves of multiple trends that run together. Beer is by no means a new product in the marketplace. However, food products made from local sources, locally made, are definitely a new trend in an existing industry. Products and services that contribute to an overall lifestyle or experience are also a very big trend now, as well as things that are considered to be quote-unquote different. When we put together locally sourced, locally made lifestyle products that are different from the existing ones, we have the result of craft beer. Another way to think about this is in terms of counter trends. And this is really where we resist trends, but we actually think about it in an opposite way. We know that from technological changes in the environment, the way that we purchase books and music is very different today than it was even 10 or 15 years ago. However, shops that cater to clients in terms of vinyl recordings and rare books are still very popular because they go against the flow, and going against the flow of that trend, which is a counter trend, can be very strong as well. The last one I want to bring up is to make something green. There are many existing products and services in the marketplace that if we can prove, not in a fake manner, but in a real legitimate manner, that they are more sustainably built or consumed within the marketplace, they tend to be a good source of ideas. So now we want to think about continuing to shape our idea, and we can do this using what the authors call an outside-in analysis. We can look at the outside for needs, and we can figure out how to meet that need. Those are externally driven. The general business environment, and this should look familiar to you here from your other business classes, affects your concept in the following ways. We can talk about the industry. The industry affects it even more. Put your concept in context with the industry. What industry does your business idea belong to? That's the first thing you need to do. You need to identify the industry. Look at it from your customer's point of view and ask yourself, how will they use your product or service? These 5 forces that you see here affect the attractiveness and profitability of the given target market of an industry. And this model is called Porter's 5 Forces. It's made up of these 5 factors. And if we ask ourselves these questions in terms of, how easy is it for new competitors to enter the industry? Can customers turn to other products or services to replace those that the industry offers? That's the threat of substitute products or services. The third is the intensity of rivalry. How intense is this rivalry amongst existing competitors in the industry? Is the industry fragmented, meaning it has lots of different competitors that no one competitor dominates market share? Or is the rivalry among competitors so fierce because there are very few of them that vie for most of the competition? What is the bargaining power of suppliers? Are suppliers so powerful that they demand high prices for raw materials? And what is the bargaining power of buyers? Are customers so powerful that they force companies to charge low prices and therefore squeeze margins? The next thing you need to know about is your competition. Who are your rival businesses? What are their strengths? What's their position in the market? And how will they respond if you enter? What we do now is we take a look inside out. We take a look at the resources or inputs that we have. This is cash, knowledge, equipment, maybe partners or intellectual property that we have. We then take a look at our capabilities. This is our ability to transform those inputs into real products or services. Your core competency is what distinguishes you from everybody else. When we take a look inside and we analyze our resources, our capabilities, and our competencies, what is it that separates us from the remainder of the competition in the market space? When you put this together, This is really the result of what we call a SWOT analysis. And chances are you've seen a SWOT in other business classes. It's the type of strategic assessment that provides us with an overview of our situation from a strategic standpoint. It's often something that we include in our business plan. Get a model SWOT analysis, which is located on page 74 in your textbook. We can see that positive and negative factors both inside and outside the company result in corresponding strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You see very common examples of SWOT factors here in this diagram. What really helps you shape your opportunity is this identifying this sweet spot. This is where we literally take our external analysis and our internal analysis and we merge them. It helps us eventually shape the definition of the concept for our business. The result of this is having a great idea, but is it an opportunity? An opportunity is different from an idea because an opportunity is actually a profitable business that we can sustain over a long period of time. We want to make sure that we screen the idea for feasibility and that we do it in 5 ways. First, we want to take a look at the strength of the business idea itself. Does it meet a need? Does it create values? And does it contain any fatal flaws that are critical to its success? Secondly, we want to screen this idea for our target market. Is the target market big enough? Is it enough to generate sufficient revenue? And can we reach them? Third, we want to take a look at the industry. Is there a high or low number of competitors? Is it a growing industry? What are the typical margins like in the industry? How many barriers to entry exist within the industry itself? We take a look at our founding capabilities. Do we have the industry experience, the passion, and the networks that are necessary for a successful business venture? And then lastly, we take a look at the capital. What are the capital requirements for our business idea? Does it require a lot or maybe just a little bit of capital at startup? Does it have high profit potential, or can we at least test the product on a very inexpensive basis? In all of this, we are in a quest to find the fatal flaw. We want to take a look at what our market potential is and how attractive the industry is to new ventures that lead or that open in that space. I want to talk a little bit about creativity and innovation. In this class, you're required to come up with a product or service concept for your business plan. And it's important to understand your competitive advantage and what makes you different. Oftentimes, as stated in Chapter 3, our business ideas are really new twists on existing concepts. We really need to think creatively about how ours will be different. So this one fact that our business concepts are twists on existing ideas, it presents us a pretty high hurdle when we start up our business, because we need to squeeze into a space that is already likely filled with similar options for consumers. So the question is, how will we make ourselves truly different? Innovation is creating something new. It's something that has yet to exist. True innovation is a brand new something, and so that's unlikely for most of us. But luckily, there are different types of innovation. You can see here on the slide that there are 6 different types of innovation. And let's put this in terms of a product that we can pretty simply relate to, and that's a mousetrap. Innovation would require us to, quote unquote, build a better mousetrap. So how do we do that? Well, if we're talking about product innovation, that is literally building a better physical device that is a mousetrap. If we think about process innovation, it's the process that we use to build that mousetrap. If we think about market innovation, it's where we sell the mousetrap. If we think about input innovation, it's what we use to build or sell that mousetrap. And then the channel innovation is how we distribute the mousetrap. Organizational innovation is how we organize the tasks within our company in order to build that better mousetrap. One or more of these can be our differentiator, and it's how we set ourselves apart from others in the space. So what will that innovation be? Well, we're likely going to have to create it. And innovation requires us to use the creative process. So then, how do we become creative? Well, there are numerous thoughts on how to be creative and how to stretch our creative part of our brain. I've experienced one way, and that's through the process of ideation. Ideation is this thought of creating numerous random thoughts associated with a challenge or a concept, and soon it, in other words, the innovation, will reveal itself. So pretend for a minute that you have a travel coffee mug in front of you. The question would be, how might we better create a travel coffee mug? If we write down this question, how might we create a better travel coffee mug? We would want to think about the different stimuli that would prompt our thinking. If we wanted to know how to better create a travel coffee mug, we would have to think about the stimuli, in other words, the things that cause us to think about travel coffee mugs. If we wanted to think about this, we would do something like perhaps visit a coffee shop, or we would drink coffee out of various travel mugs. We would, in other words, put our minds in a position where we are likely to think about something. We want to surround ourselves with things that make us think about coffee mugs. Well, when we can't do that physically, we can do that by a process called word association. So let's do that for a minute. Let's play word association. If I say boy, you say. If I say cat, you say. And if I say red, you say. And this first word in every instance is the stimuli to get yourself to think about the next word. So when I said boy, chances are you said girl. When I said cat, you may have said dog. And if I said red, hopefully you said blue. In this exercise that you're going to do in your discussion board today, you're going to think about that challenge of making a better coffee mug. Just like words, use the words, just words, like in the word association we just did. Don't think about them. Think about one word and how you would think about maybe making that a better way. How many do you have?